Avinu, Avinu, שבשמיים, צור ישראל וגואלו. אבינו, אבינו, שבשמיים, צור ישראל וגואלו. ברך, ברך את מדינת ישראל, ראשית צמיחת גאולתנו. הגן עליה מעברת חסדך, ופרוס עליה סוכת שלומך. ראשיה, שריה, ויועציה, ויועציה, ותקנה עצה טובה מלפניך, ותקנה עצה אבינו שבשמיים, צור ישראל וגואלו. צור ישראל וגואלו. צור ישראל וגואלו.
David Ben-Gurion declared an independent state of Israel on May 14, 1948, and a new chapter of Jewish history began. The British had controlled Palestine under the British Mandate, but that expired at midnight, and so the early Zionists declared a new nation. Some of them had lived in the land for generations, and some were new arrivals from Nazi Europe. For a couple of years, May 14th was a day for mourning lost soldiers. Then in 1951, Israel decided to split the day into two parts, Yom HaZikaron, Remembrance Day, and Yom Ha'atzmaut, Independence Day. It is celebrated on the 5th of Iyar, or one of the days right around it. In 1953, Yom HaShoah, Holocaust Remembrance Day, was also added to this period, happening 8 days earlier. Yom HaZikaron begins at night with a minute-long siren where the whole country stops and stands in silence. Another siren.
Hi everyone, I'm here at the Kotel. As you can see behind me, there's two soldiers protecting the eternal flame and the flag of the state of Israel behind me. We're in the final hours of Yom Ha'atzmaut, and in just a few hours Yom Ha'atzmaut is going to start. It's going to be a huge party, but now we're remembering everyone who fell in Israel's war or in terrorist attacks and all that stuff. So.
Another siren the next morning kicks off the official memorial ceremonies, as well as private ones where people remember their loved ones. As night falls, the memorial mood shifts quickly as Israelis move into party mode, and Yom Ha'atzmaut begins, starting with a formal state torch lighting ceremony on Mount Herzl in Jerusalem, to fireworks over Rabin Square in Tel Aviv, to street parties everywhere. As the night goes on, the party gets more and more lively, of course. And the next day, while possibly nursing an Arak hangover, is all about a barbecue on the beach or at the park with absolutely everyone else. Around the world, Jewish communities join in solidarity with those in Israel by wearing blue and white to celebrate the Israeli flag, eating classic foods like hummus, falafel, watermelon feta kebabs, and of course, bamba.
So,
folk dancing.
We're talking about Yom Ha'atzmaut. I loved Yom Ha'atzmaut in Israel. We were walking on the streets. We watched parades. There was so much excitement in the streets, as if on this day, we finally realized how much we loved our country and how happy we are to have a state of Israel. Right now, when I'm talking to you, I just feel that excitement, that really just a good feeling of having our own country. It was not regular. I mean, we knew that this is happening, but we knew that.
אנו מכריזים בזאת על הקמת מדינה יהודית בארץ ישראל. היא מדינת ישראל.
When I was in the army, it was so special to walk the streets of Tel Aviv in my uniform and really feel proud that I'm an Israeli soldier and that, you know, here I fight for this country. So there were many, many ceremonies. We can walk around and they're full of people and just joy, freedom, fun, gratitude, and togetherness. Dancing the hora in the middle of the street was one of the funnest things because there wasn't, you know, there were not too many cars. They're not allowed. So you can be, I'm just talking about Tel Aviv. And then, you know, as the eating part, a bit falafel, a bit other goodies. And we went on, and we could go. And then we had all kind of rashanim. How do you say rashanim in English? I don't remember. They made noisemakers. And, so we made noises. So it was lots of fun. And
dear congregants of Tiferet Israel, my name is Gili and I'm the director of the Center for Israel and Sid Jacobson JCC. I'm sending you this video from the beauty of Israel's desert, from Mitzpe Ramon, on Israel's 73rd birthday. And I think that on this day I want to share with you that Israel had gone through a very rough year, politically and nationally, with this health pandemic. But at the same time, it used all of its ability and all of its uniqueness with dealing with crises, nationally with security, to actually overcome this. We are one of the more progressive countries with vaccination. We're one of the most progressive countries with dealing with it on many levels. And I hope that by the 74th birthday, we will be over all of this craziness and we will be able to see all of you with us here. So from Mitzpe Ramon, as it's being built and progressed and becoming more and more accommodating to more families that will come to the desert and flourish the Negev, I'm sending you my best wishes and happy birthday to Israel.
Yom Ha'atzmaut in Israel, it's a very fun day, but it starts with sadness because it goes from Memorial Day for soldiers to Yom Ha'atzmaut, so it's like a mixed thing. But in the evening, especially for kids, is the funnest day because everybody's go out to watch the fireworks, and it's a big happening in the towns. There's some music, and then they have this kind of vendors with games for kids. You walk around with your friends. That's my version of amusement park. I've never been in an amusement park, but that's Yom Ha'atzmaut. It was like an amusement park in my town, and it's festivals of music with famous singers.
מי שלא טעם גאווה מימיו, מי שלא טעם גאווה, כאן יחשב ליבו לקרוב, כאן יאמר לנפשו לעזוב, עוד לא באה דרכו אל סופה, עוד תבוא שעתו היפה. עוד נגיע, נגיע, עוד נגיע ליום המואר, עוד נפתיע, נפתיע, עוד נפתיע את יום המחר. מי שלא זרע אדמה בידיו, מי שלא זרע אדמה, מי שלא מצא נחמה בשנותיו, מי שלא מצא נחמה. עוד נגיע, נגיע, עוד נגיע ליום המואר, עוד נפתיע, נפתיע, עוד נפתיע את יום המחר. מי שלא זרע אדמה בידיו, מי שלא זרע אדמה, מי שלא טעם גאווה מימיו, מי שלא טעם גאווה, מי שלא ידע אהבה בחייו, מי שלא ידע אהבה.
באלה הידיים עוד לא בניתי כפר, עוד לא מצאתי מים באמצע המדבר, עוד לא ציירתי פרח, עוד לא גיליתי דרך, עוד גיליתי
לציון סופיה. אותה תקוותנו, התקווה בת שנות 2000, היא אותם חופשי בארצנו, ארץ ציון ירושלים, היא אותם חופשי בארצנו, ארץ ציון ירושלים.
Okay, first thing that comes to mind about Yom Ha'atzmaut in Israel is very energetic dancing around the circle for hours and hours. We had music and lights. It was very festive. It was a very happy occasion. We would gather in public squares. At the time, we belonged to groups. Every group had a name. Some favored certain singers like Elvis or Ricky Nelson or some other groups. And our name was Twist. Other than that, I remember it very fondly. Only in Israel, you know, this spirit and energy. It was beautiful.
Across the ocean, under the blue sky, the sun is rising, it's climbing so high. I know a place where we can be freer, we will be stronger, so long will we be keeping our
Talking about tikva, talking about my home. is my homeland, this is my story. I build my future with ancient glory. So take my hand now, we'll be together. The days are brighter, and we'll be dreaming now.
Falafel just got real.
Talking about Tikva, talking about my home, talking about Tikva.
אנו מכריזים בזאת על הקמת מדינה יהודית בארץ ישראל. היא מדינת ישראל.
What I'm saying, Tikva, Tikva, come on, we be talking about not giving up, we rising up, show me mine, it's that sound, can't get me down, not giving up hope, I still got T-I-K-V-A, okay, and you got what I'm saying, Tikva, Tikva, come on, we be talking about not giving up, we rising up, show me mine, can't get me down, not giving up hope.
Hi everyone, I'm here in Jerusalem. It's currently Yom Ha'atzmaut, but we're going to be celebrating Yom Ha'atzmaut tonight, so in just a few hours this place is going to be full of people dancing and singing for Independence Day, and hopefully I'll be with them, so talk to you guys soon.
Good news. There is some good news in terms of trends, and also good news in terms we're seeing from the efficacy of one of the vaccines. So do tell.
Exactly. So a lot of data coming out of Israel. So let's take a look at this, because in a lot of ways they have really been the model. They jumped out very early ahead in their vaccine program. First of all, they're really the first country to see wide-scale direct positive effects of the vaccine. 90% of people, you guys, age 60 and over, received the first dose of the Pfizer vaccine within 6 weeks. That's an incredible accomplishment.
אוויר הרים צלול לקיים וריח אורנים נישא ברוח ארבעים עם כל פעמונים ובתרדמת אילן ועבר
ירושלים של זהב ושל נחושת ושל אור, הלא לכל שירייך אני כינור. ירושלים של זהב ושל נחושת ושל אור, הלא לכל שירייך אני כינור. חזרנו אל בורות המים, לשוק ולכיכר, שופר קורא בהר הבית, בעיר העתיקה, ובמרות אשר בסלע אלפי שמשות זורחות, ושוב נרד לים המלח בדרך יריחו. ירושלים של זהב ושל נחושת ושל אור, הלא לכל שירייך אני כינור. ירושלים של זהב ושל נחושת ושל אור, הלא לכל שירייך
When you hear the word Israel, what goes through your mind? Probably this image, or this, definitely this. So here are 68 facts you probably didn't know about Israel. Israel is a young country. How young? Just 68 years old. In nation years, that's like 3 years old, a mere baby. Israel's population is just 1.6% of the entire population in the Middle East and takes up only 1/10 of 1% of the region's area, which means it's tiny. Basically, you can cross the entire country in less than 5 hours from snow-covered Mount Hermon to the sizzling beaches of Eilat. Israel is third in the world in the consumption of sweets and vegetables. Israel was the first country in the world to ban commercials starring underweight models. Israel has the highest number of academics per capita in the world and the highest proportion of startups and of museums as well. Tel Aviv is home to 80,000 dogs that enjoy more than 60 dog parks. And the biggest dog cemetery dating back to ancient times was discovered in Israel in Ashkelon. Speaking of ancient places, Jerusalem, one of the oldest cities in the world, is also the smartest one, as it was the first in the world to be completely covered by Wi-Fi, which you'll need to find one of the best hostels in the world, the Abraham Hostel in Jerusalem. Another ancient city is Beersheba, 4,000 years old. Nowadays it has the most chess masters per capita in the world. With all due respect to chess, the most popular beach sport in Israel, and probably its national sport, is matkot. There's no score, just the fun of ruining the quiet of the seashore. Books. Israel is number 2 in the world in book publishing. People of the book, remember? Wait, who's number 1? At least we're in first place when it comes to translating literary masterpieces from foreign languages. The USB stick is an Israeli invention which saves us lots of storage space. Israel is among the 10 leading countries in life expectancy. Folks here live on average to the ripe old age of 83. Israel has 273 kilometers of beaches, hugging the Mediterranean Sea, the Red Sea, the Dead Sea, and the Sea of Galilee, the lowest sweetwater lake in the world. According to the New Testament, Jesus walked on the water here. This rescue board is called a hasakeh. It was invented here in the 1930s by a Jewish lifeguard. If you have a problem staying above water, the Dead Sea is the place for you. The salt concentration there is so high, anyone can stay afloat. Israel is one of only 8 countries that have sent a satellite into space. The busiest bird migration route in the world goes through Israel. 1 billion birds pass through here every year. According to Traveller's Digest, Tel Aviv is in the top 10 for cities with the world's most beautiful women. And yes, also among the top 10 when it comes to good-looking men. But women in Israel have much more to offer than just a pretty face. Israeli women also have more academic degrees than the men do, so if you are the next Mary Curie, this is the place for you. Not for nothing is Israel known as the startup nation. There are more than 3,000 high-tech companies and startups in Israel. That's the highest concentration in the world outside of Silicon Valley. So what was invented here? The technology that allows us to chat in WhatsApp, Messenger, and everything else you youngsters spend your time on. The world's first antivirus software, gesture-controlled and hands-free computers. Technology technology to prevent traffic accidents. Taxi service app, remember when you had to wave your hand for a taxi? A social network that allows you to steer clear of traffic jams. A really small pill that can photograph your body from the inside. How does it get out? Solar energy water heater, irrigation system that conserves water, painless hair removal, well, almost painless, anti-jellyfish sting gel, laser keyboard, the technology that enabled unmanned flight, cherry tomatoes, and Rummy Cup, the popular board game. Whew. Crembo, chocolate-coated marshmallow treat. It may originally have been a Danish confection, but in the winter, Israelis eat more than 50 million Crembos. Bamba, a peanut-flavored snack created in Israel. On top of being popular and delicious, research has shown that it helps children build immunity to peanut allergy. And to continue with the yummy stuff, even though Italy is the birthplace of ice cream, consumption in Israel is 10 litres a year. Respect and brain freeze. Ice cream is all about the quality of the milk. Israeli cows are world champions in milk production. Since she's a champion, she's got an attitude. Tel Aviv is known as one of the vegan capitals of the world. Or how about some sushi? Tel Aviv is only second to Tokyo in sushi bars per square meter. Wine has been made here for more than 3,000 years. And even then, the local wine industry didn't win as many international awards as it does today. And speaking of prestigious awards, none is more prestigious than the Nobel, right? 9 Israelis have won the Nobel Prize in Sciences. The last one was Professor Dan Shechtman for the discovery of the quasi-periodic crystal. See if you can say 5 times really fast quasi-periodic crystal. Israel also grows flowers, lots of flowers. For last Valentine's Day, Israel shipped more than 60 million flowers to Europe. Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East. Israel is not a monarchy, but does have a queen. Her name is Dana International, and she's the first transgender to win the Eurovision contest. Time Out magazine has crowned Tel Aviv as gay capital of the Middle East. And speaking of divas, Lady Gaga's shoe designer is Israeli. They are indeed beautiful, but really difficult to walk in, especially if you're in Haifa and need to climb its green hills. For that, the shortest train line in the world was constructed to take you right to the top of Mount Carmel. And while we're in Haifa, did you know that it is the most multi-ethnic city in Israel? It has Jews, Christians, Muslims, both Sunnis and Shias, Druze and Baha'is. Did you know that Israel is the only place in the world where the number of trees increases year by year? Even with all these forests, 60% of Israel is desert, which didn't prevent us from turning the barren desert into productive farmland. A desert doesn't have much water, so Israel was forced to lead the world in desalination technologies. Israeli scientists developed treatments for multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, and most important, discovered the cause of halitosis. Yes, bad breath. Israelis are also not too shabby when it comes to sports. Maccabi Tel Aviv took the European Championship 6 times. In judo and windsurfing, Israel is an Olympic powerhouse. And if you're still not impressed, what would you say to the fact that the Emmy-winning series Homeland was written in Israel? Or that more than 1 million notes are stuffed into the Western Wall every year? Where does God find the time to read them all? And Hebrew is such an ancient language that if a modern-day Israeli would meet his ancestor from 2,000 years ago, they would be able to carry on a conversation. One more left? Well, all right. Have you heard of the Global Happiness Index? Neither had I until now. But apparently Israelis are in the 11th spot out of 196 countries. And if that doesn't satisfy you, maybe you should find someone to talk to about it.
התקווה.
המסדר ידגל את נשקו. דגל, שק!
Yeah.
נא לשבת.